We're just going straight to Facebook instead.
Gotcha.
Restream would not post it to the page.
Went to the group.
Yep. Yeah, fun stuff.
There's a way to delete the group.
I don't know. We've tried to do it before.
I think so.
But at the same time... Okay. Here we go. Yeah, fun stuff. Okay, 2-minute warning. You know, I guess I don't have to say that now. Y'all should be able to see it.
Guess so.
All right. This is definitely easier for me. Yeah, so Jen, you might want to let your friend know we're on Facebook now instead.
I just went on Facebook, but so then if they want to watch it, that link that you posted, did you post something that has a link, or how does that work?
No, she just goes to DealerRefresh's Facebook page.
I see it. Yeah, okay.
And then she can comment right along with Drew Mint.
I was just going to write on my post, but I did it the wrong way. Crap.
It's all right. For those of you tuning in, we were trying too many new things today, so
we'll get there.
Yep. So we got one new thing today, and then we will come back with another new thing next week.
It's the only way to grow.
That's right. Well, it'll be doubly fun because next week I think it's Joe Dallas and Bryce from Trade Pending.
Mm-hmm.
So they will give us a lot more hell than you are.
For sure.
All right, but here we go.
I literally just went through all of this morning, so.
All right, here we are, everybody. So, hey, Jeff. Hey, Jennifer.
I'm here.
Happy Friday before Halloween.
Halloween.
Woo!
Yeah, is everyone masking up this Halloween, going trick-or-treating?
I think I'm more scared of the 3rd than the Halloween.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's all good.
Well, we've got Jennifer here today, and that's a big duh statement, but the reason for it is because she's done something pretty incredible. At least I haven't heard of anyone else doing this. But she hopped on some trains, she hopped on some cars, she hopped on some horses, and even an airplane or two, and went to all these various dealerships around the country to see what dealers were doing to handle the COVID situation. You know, and how were they getting along with digital retailing? And Jennifer, I'll let you take it away because you can explain it way better than I can because you did it.
Well, all facts you've stated so far. I, was at home like everyone else during COVID. Now I have traveled every week of my life in my career, probably for 20 years. It's just a way of life for me. So I was just kind of, anxious to get back to work, get back in the stores. And every week we're doing these Zoom conference calls like a beast with all of our clients, just following this momentum, of change, of just complete shock to the dealership culture. And I'm not going to lie, I was super pumped because I was there when internet sales started. Dealers thought it was like this thing that was like gonna just come and go. And I really believed when internet popped that internet sales was how it was going to be. And I really truly believed it was all about providing an easier way to buy a car. That was a long time ago. That was literally so long ago. And it's just every day it's a battle to change the way that we sell cars and do it in a way that customers want. So when this whole thing popped, I was like chomping at the bit, trying to get out of like my house to get on a plane and go see someone. And I was super curious to see what was changing and evolving. And everyone's telling me they're doing it differently. And everyone's navigating every day. And it's just trying to pivot and adapt and pivot and adapt. And then it's just like every day I'm sitting here like this, like I'm just like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And so I did. I jumped on a plane and every week from the first week of May, I'd say up until maybe 3 weeks ago, I've been going out and seeing dealers. I contacted companies like Freaking Tech. And I was like, who's your best guy? Who's your best dealer? Let me go see these guys. I want to talk to them. I want to see what the best are doing. So I said what I did. And then you guys, met me out there and really got a bird's eye view of what's going down.
How many dealerships
what the future
did you
looks
visit
like.
within that?
I feel like I have a crystal ball now.
How many dealerships did you visit within that time frame?
I haven't calculated that. My best guess is 20.
Oh, wow.
And that's all across the nation, right?
I've been all four corners.
Yeah, because we came and met you in New Jersey after you flew out. You had been in California, I think, a week or two before, and then you came in through LaGuardia. In fact, before we get into all of that, how has plane travel been since
that was my question.
May?
I can tell you I'm worn out. At the time that I met you guys, and all the months blur together, you'd have to refresh my memory, but it was easy then. Flight to New York, no problem. No one's in New York. It was great. I could get an Uber. These guys, hustlers, they're still working. I previously had been staying in the South because the South, was still open. I could stay at a hotel. I could get food. I could get an Uber, but it was in some cities. I remember not sleeping at all because there was no Ubers, no Lyfts, no transportation, no drivers, and I would be like 2 miles from the airport, and I'm begging people on the street literally to take me to the airport. And so I haven't missed a flight, and I never do. And I don't know. It's been a series of, you have to be very, very cautious now. You have to plan for error. And I've always flown by the seat of my pants. I always figured things out in, a haste. And now it's like, I've been taken to wrong airports. I've had flights canceled. My flight last week was canceled randomly. That's happened to me a few times. Then you're scrambling to find somebody else to get you home. The thing that's challenging is getting a direct flight.
Yeah.
But when I get that direct flight, I'm generally being bumped to first class on nearly every flight. So there's the benefit.
I guess if that's how you want to look at it.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find a little positive vibes there.
And then there's definitely open seating in every airport, right?
every airport's different. You know, I've been surprised every time I fly through Texas. It's their airports are consistently very busy. Doesn't look like there's a problem. You go to LaGuardia, it'll never be like that ever again. I fly there all the time, and it is empty. I mean, empty. And I live in Colorado, Denver Airport. You know, there's still no line in security. Generally speaking, that's like it's pretty deep. You know, it's pretty deep. Every place is different.
That makes sense. They're all run a little differently. So maybe we should avoid going there. So
hotels are cheap.
You never know what you're going to get.
$100 a night. I stay in Manhattan for $100 a night.
Wow.
Yes.
That's crazy. So
that is crazy.
So you mentioned that you were getting tired of being on the Zoom calls, and you were hearing about all these different dealers doing things differently. But was there something in particular that really inspired you to go out and call all these different companies and say, you know, who's your best client and can I go visit them?
I love change. I live for it. Things were changing at such a rapid pace. I really didn't want to be left out. And the truth is, we had digital retailing in our curriculum prior to COVID, and it became a section that I found myself skipping because nobody cared.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everybody cares. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, it's evolving so fast. I need to know what's going on. I want to be a part of this. I need to know about this. I wanted to learn all the tools because frankly, I hadn't used any of the tools to that point, which is even surprising to me because it's not like it just suddenly arrived because of COVID. You know, the software, everything, the tools were there. And I guess I ignored it too.
Well, if nobody cares, why look at it? I get you.
Yeah. I was really inspired by what people were doing. You know, I saw the business model just shocked, and people navigating it in such different ways and getting such different outcomes. So I just needed to see for myself. You know what? I wanted to work the process. I wanted to know the process. I wanted to submerge myself in it. I wanted to be a part of this. Felt very revolutionary at the time. And I wanted to talk to these owners about the future. I wanted to look and experience, look at these different models, experience these models, talk to the customers, and, you know the software. Know how to leverage that software with the sales process. Yes.
So you had the opportunity to actually speak to some of the different customers at the dealerships? What were they saying?
Oh, yeah, no, I called them.
Oh.
No, I called them. I brought them into the store.
What kind of feedback were you getting?
So at different moments, I kept feeling like, is this just an internet lead? Is this just an internet lead? And some of the people would say, like, this is just an internet lead. Now, as I've now experienced more, it really is dependent on the business model. So like if it's running through a BDC, for example, like a traditional BDC, it's getting dumped into the CRM, this digital retailing opportunity, right? And it looks just like every other internet lead. So then you almost start contacting them the same way.
Yeah, you work at the same way.
Without looking. At this point, so then I was like, oh, it's the same. It's an internet lead. But quite frankly, I wouldn't say that today. And I contacted the customers. I executed the same processes that I've had success with. And in time, I discovered all of these little elements of the trail, the journey the customer was experiencing on the website. And then I started modifying my approach based on the customer journey, because that was one of the key differences. It was like, oh, this isn't just an internet lead. It just came from, a third party. This was on our this person was on the website. They went through a series of call to actions. They went through a series of messaging and usage of tools. And if I'd have done all that work, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should at least say something about that at hello.
So how many, what I'd like to know, how many different services, and if you don't mind, maybe you can name them out, how many different retailing solutions did you have the opportunity to actually look at and work with?
Prodigy, Freakin' Tech. I looked at Model, AutoFi, Roadster.
So is it pronounced modal or model?
Oh, I always butcher stuff. I knew it as soon as I said that.
I don't know. I don't know. I just look at it and I always think modal, but that's because I work with a bunch of developers and they're constantly building things in modal. So.
Oh dear, I probably said it wrong.
No, it's okay. So that's cool. So you touched on what sounded like about 5 or 6 digital retailing solutions across 20 dealerships.
Yeah, and now I have more experience with, let's say, like Web Buy or Shop Click Drive. These are all tools that I've had a lot of experience with. These aren't companies I contacted, but certainly have had a lot of experience now at this point with probably most tools. I mean, everyone's got a tool now.
Right. Yeah, there's something like 47 out there, so I've been told.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you went and visited some of these dealerships, I assume, and I know of one for sure, but I assume that many more also had to make significant change in light of the quarantines that came in March. And were there any that really stood out that made gigantic changes that were very positive for their business, and maybe they're trying to stick to some of that? And did we lose Jennifer?
I don't know.
It looks like she's frozen. So prior to getting on today, there were some connectivity issues going on out in potentially in Colorado.
You completely cut out on me.
There you are. We lost you for a minute. And
or two. It's struggling.
All right, Jennifer, I think you're back now. Can you hear us? Nope. Well, Jennifer, can you hear us? So
what were you saying, Alex? Maybe she'll jump back on.
Yeah, so I'll see what I can fill in for Jennifer. So, I went down as Frickin' Tech, not DealerRefresh, but went down and met her with our vice president of sales at Matthew Haken's Prestige Volvo location, his main one.
Yeah, we've had Matthew on a couple of times. Yeah,
we'll probably have Matthew again, for sure. And Jennifer, when you can hear us, let us know. But we met her in New Jersey, and she had come in through LaGuardia and had gone through the day before and met with one of her Mercedes stores in the city. And it was a pretty neat little trip for all of us, because it was a little earlier on in this whole thing, and for her seeing that, wow, I can get an Uber anywhere all of a sudden, and LaGuardia was empty. And for us, we have Vermont license plate on our car, and we had to drive down through New York State, the upper side of it, the countryer side of it, through Albany. And we counted the whole time through all of New York State, all the way down into Jersey, which Matt's store is close to New York City. We counted less than, I think it was, I want to say it was 7 out-of-state license plates.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, I don't know if you can hear us. You back? We see you moving. I got your text. All right. I'm telling her to maybe hang up and try and jump back in here. Anyway, so Jen comes back on. We'll get her back in. So yeah, outside of that, it was also interesting to see what was going on at Haken's store. So, New Jersey and most of the Northeast was supremely shut down. Let's see, here she comes. And Matt had to make some drastic changes. And so Jennifer was very interested in seeing what he was doing. But when we got there, it was just past some of the lifting that New Jersey had done. And like the customers just ripped down the doors and said, I'm here. I don't have anything better to do. So please let me spend 6 hours in the dealership. And the funny part was Matt had made his process so strong at that point that he was getting people in and out in like 15 minutes. It was just a crazy little setup.
That defeated the whole purpose.
Yeah, right? So Jennifer, welcome back.
Yeah, repeat that question.
All right, so we were, yes, where were we? I was just filling people in on on how we all ended up in New Jersey together. And what we were witnessing at Prestige Volvo. But getting back to it, leading up to it, more wondering what stores had made dramatic changes and, are
what
still
made them,
trying
what
to
made them
stick
successful with those
today.
changes?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was an immediate, like, oh my God, we have to sell cars. We have to stay in business. They had furloughed so many people and they had this skeleton staff. And the one parallel that I saw amongst all of these stores scrambling, the ones that kept the processes intact, that got them through this toughest time, and they had found all these newfound successes because of slimmer staff, cross-training, all of the employees, the managers, the salespeople, everyone's cross-trained. They know how to do everybody's job now. I mean, they're even professional driving. Add that to your resume. And, the one parallel was that the owner and or general manager got in the trenches. Mm-hmm. And if there's one message that I find myself saying over and over and over to dealers that just have their little toe in, I'm like, you got to get back to like an uncomfortable world. And when I say to them, where do you think all of your opportunities are coming from? And they'll say, oh, it's digital, it's phone. Well, you know how to crush those? No. Well, don't you think maybe give it a try? During COVID, everything shut down. All you could do was call people, So then many started to realize, oh, I do have the skills. Oh, I can't. Hey, this is fun. Hey, you know what? Forget it. Let's not even call these people. Matt was like, let's just text them all. I'm like, wow, I literally can't believe you're doing 250 units. I watched him do it. I watched him contact these opportunities back. And not necessarily with the mission of set an appointment. Now, this is something where I get to a crossroads with myself. It's like, get in the trenches, learn how to contact these customers, be willing to do the work, be willing to cross-train your staff. And does it have to really always be about the appointment? Or is this about giving people what they want? And then they come back to you because your competitors aren't even there. They're not even close. They want to play games. I know there was a lot in that.
There was a moment in there when Matt was working a deal in front of you, or just a customer. It was a fresh internet lead, and he texted her, and it was like in less than 60 seconds, he had a trade appraisal number in front of her. It was a trade pending market report on her car that he had just sent via text, and you were looking at him like, why would you tell her that you'll take her car for that number? You haven't even seen it yet. What if there's no motor in there? What if the whole side's caved in? What did Matt say to you?
The nuts and bolts of what he said was, I don't care. I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to answer these people's questions, and I'm going to give them what they want. And, the risk far outweighs the reward was what I took away from this. And it was a mentality shift. What I saw that guy do forever changed me. And in a lot of ways, he's one of my faves. He's one of my faves that I experience. His business model is very, very different than what people are willing to do. He has less salespeople, but everyone's like basically a manager. And there's a lot more to that. But, he just, they just freely give everything up. And then you can come back, because I've posed this question with other dealers, and many of them are willing to give the number at this point, sight unseen. But there is still some reluctancy out there. Most of these cars are still under warranty. And generally, there isn't a problem like the engine blowing up.
Yeah, as Matt calls it, it's just bad karma if they give him a bad car. The karma will get them back later.
I mean, who says that?
Apparently Matthew Haken. But so
yeah.
While you were out there, were there any other dealers that stood out to you? Any parts of their process that really grabbed you and held your attention?
I'll tell you, one of the reasons Matt's one of my faves is because I thought his business model was incredibly efficient. He has a lot of drivers, and I spent time with his drivers. Very happy people, very passionate about the product, very, very, very passionate about pleasing the customer, making people happy, just customer service on steroids. And this is who I want to show up on my drive. This isn't a salesperson. This is someone with passion and a love for the product and for the company. And how did this happen? It's the way that Matt runs his store and the way he treats people. They're part of everyday sales process. They feel like they're part of the team. They're not drivers. And he has a lot of drivers. He wants everything off property. You come in, you want to do the deal, great, go home, we'll send the car to you. Which I do believe in a lot of ways that experience right there just not only streamlines things, but it's kind of exciting to get a new car again, the way it should be. People work so hard for this moment. And then to have a car show up on your driveway with this happy smile and someone that's just so passionate about the car, doesn't have any time constraints, going to run through that car like, no one else would. and it's at the customer's comfort zone. And then you've gone above and beyond. You've gone above, and that PVR is reflective.
Yeah.
Did you have
So
any?
I saw the efficiency. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask. Did you have any other dealerships that had established some type of process similar to that?
I did. I definitely saw that delivery had picked up a lot of momentum. What I noticed over time is that they scaled it back as a priority in the sale. So I felt the model was intact. It just wasn't being used as much.
And when you say they've scaled it back, you say that today, after having this crazy summer that pretty much every dealer had, that they've gotten away from some of the learnings that were had at the beginning of the quarantine cycle?
Yes. Yes, I would say things were like full speed ahead. Obviously April, major changes. End of May, things are starting to shift. You can see people going back to the old ways, even though they knew that all these modifications had made an impact. And then then fast forward, go forward a couple more months, the customers are coming in. They're flooding the showroom, and much of this goes to bay.
So I might have a leading question here. And this is just a theory of mine, is that we had a lot of people who were quarantined. And I experienced this here in the Northeast, because this was an area that was hit pretty hard. And what we saw a lot of were people, especially in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, who, once some of these quarantines were lifted, were like, okay, I need something to do. Get me out of this house. I'll even go stay in a motel down the street from my house so I can look at different wallpaper. And so, like, if I was going to go spend 4 to 6 hours in the dealership, that's a welcome relief to being stuck in my house after 90 days. And I just want to, and this is the leading part, like, do you think that dealers have a bit of a false sense of things are back to normal or the way they were because of that? And it's okay to have these long processes and things again?
I experienced the same thing. I would be in many dealerships where I could not believe people were sitting in the waiting room waiting for their car to be serviced. And I still see that, and I'm still surprised. I do think that you're in your comfort zone. You only know what you know. You know that song so well. You own that song. You can sing that song, every single word, and then you didn't fully embrace the new song. You were sort of forced into it, and it was exciting, and you prevailed, and then you're like, oh, thank God, I can get back to my old song, what I'm so comfortable with. But I can tell you this is never going away. I've been in the crystal ball. I've seen too much to tell you. This is much like how people perceive the internet. And I get super passionate about this because this is what customers want. And the dealers that start to really embrace small modifications, not a like bomb went off, we got to change our business model. You don't have to do all that. It's just one thing at a time to just keep making business move forward and do better at pleasing customers, do better at pleasing your employees, do what you can to try new things and be open-minded to change and pivot and adapt and talk to your team and constantly hear what they're saying the customers want. We roadblock people all day long. The roadblocks have come back, but there are plenty of dealers who got motivated enough through this pandemic that they've adopted a lot of the elements, tools, systems, processes that will sustain their business, I think, for many years to come. And the difference is that I can see them stealing market share. I experienced it myself. When I call customers and I'm in a market where they get it, they have the tools, they're like, Matt, I'll just text you the deal. I'm like, this is what customers want. The customers are pleased. Maybe we don't set an appointment, but, I have to believe that many of these customers do return. They do return because they get roadblocked elsewhere. And if you get constantly roadblocked in your quest for this vehicle, you go back to who made it easier for you. So there's that. Customers love everything easy. We're people, we're human beings, we're addicted to Amazon for a reason. And so that's why I know this isn't going to go away. But I think it's one of the biggest competitive advantages we've seen in a very, very long time.
You want to hear something crazy about? So a couple of months have gone by with Prestige Volvo and Matthew. He's now getting two-way conversations with 91% of his internet leads within 4 days of the lead coming in. So think about that. When you talk about just giving them what they want, that's what he's doing, really. He's doing it fast. That's
strong as.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that before.
No.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? I mean, other than the fact that, and whenever you say, he's just giving the customer what they want, we've been hearing that for a long time now.
Yeah. And be transparent, right? That's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But is there something else? I just feel like there's got to be something else. I've taken that approach many times and still try to take that approach, by, I hate saying just giving the customer everything they want, but, basically just answering all their questions, making sure that everything's as easy as possible. But to achieve a 90% response rate within 4 days, I just feel like there's something else going on.
There's a couple of things, and it's never one silver bullet. It's always a mix. And I would say first and foremost, in Matthew's case, it's reputation. They have a reputation within their marketplace of being good people. That Matthew and his dad walked out and shook people's hands. He's still doing it right. I bet he's in the showroom right now, shaking hands with his customers. So he's getting face to face with most people. So they've been doing that for forever, and that's huge. The second piece is consistency. So whatever they do, they continue to do it unless it doesn't work, and that's the only reason they stop doing it. So that's a giant one. And the third piece I'd attribute to them is their empowerment of their people. And Jennifer was hitting on this earlier, in that they've got all these delivery drivers who are dropping cars off at people's houses, picking cars up to bring them into service and stuff like that. And they own their job. They're not feeling like there's some chief over their head that's going to chop it off if they screw up in the littlest way. So they're all happy, and they all believe in it. So those are the foundation. And then he's got tools, and I'm not going to sit back and say he's got the best tools or anything like that. But when you have a foundation of what is a good business, then the tools that you put on top will work.
Yeah,
You
for
also
sure.
have to respond to those customers pretty dang fast and pretty frequent in order to get that sort of engagement. I mean, 90% in 4 days. I mean, there's a little secret weapon in here.
It wouldn't work if that foundation wasn't there, though.
True.
Area.
Probably
It
also
helps.
depend on
It
lead.
helps.
I,
It will help.
I don't know where he's getting his leads from, but I'd be curious to know what his lead sources are as well.
Me too. And probably because he is so progressive and forward thinking, if I was to guess that, it's that he's already found a way to generate most of his opportunities off of his site, and he's using those DR engagement tools pretty fiercely. Because like, for example, texting a customer that deal at hello creates engagement. I'm a big advocate of this process. I just taught a class last week with somebody that's on this chat, and we were talking about ways that we can use those tools in a variety of different sales scenarios. I mean, even for feedback, I mean, email marketing, I mean, loads of things. But I'm guessing that your best quality opportunity always came off your website. The trick is to get more of that traffic up. So then, if these people already knew him in the community, if these are already customers he's had, I can see where they would want to engage you relatively quickly. But that's an art. He easily could have just wiped out all the third party leads that they don't know who he is.
I do know that he does a lot of paid search ads and stuff like that. And I think he does a lot with Dynamic Beacon. So shout out to those guys, the Acton crew.
Mm-hmm.
But also on the website side, there was a conversation I was having outside of this group before we hopped on, and I was sharing it with Jennifer before we went live, and thought I'd share it with everyone here because I thought it was kind of funny. But we were talking about digital retailing as a website call to action, and so many of them on so many websites say, start your buying process or buy now and things like that. And you're explaining it to somebody who has never worked in a dealership, and the guy turned around and said, is that a bit like, going into a dating app and all the beneath everyone's picture, it says get married today? Like, people aren't ready to take that kind of leap just yet. You gotta go in and start the conversation and, talk things through a little bit before you can put the ring on it. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's just interesting look at the call to actions that we might be using on our websites right now. And maybe another reason why so many dealers are upset with the way digital retailing is performing for them. I don't know.
Well, do you have any examples, or have you seen any different call to actions that dealerships could use to maybe improve upon?
There's so many. Get my payments. See,
They want that payment calculator.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
that's
what
literally
do
the
people
only
need?
button you need.
Yeah, and Dan's sitting here saying he needs some silver bullets. In fact, Dan, I'm sorry, there's a question you had way earlier, and we'll come back to that in a minute.
I think I read it too, and then it disappeared, and I wanted to answer it as well. But the CT, what you just said kind of rocks me a little bit today. I'm going to have to come back and process that a little later. I've been in dealership sales for half my life. I started selling cars at a very young age in a very big Toyota store. I only learned how to be aggressive and even at times very, very shady. I always want the business. I want it so bad. That's all I think about. And that has proven very successful in my career. I can tell you at this point, even just a year ago, I would say, yeah, a little pressure, that's not going to kill you. Ask for the business, ask for the business, ask for the meetup, let's get it. And then it was like, COVID, then it's like, you know what, just relax, just take it back about 20 notches, just do a care call, like how you doing today call. And then it was like, all right, we need to turn it up, people. We need to turn it up. Okay, forget about the care call. You know what? Everybody's good. They're at home. And it's like, okay. Now it's like, it's low pressure. Let's just come in with a little low pressure sales. At this point in my classes, and I have this icon on some of my slides, and it says, no pressure zone. We are now in the no pressure zone, everybody. No pressure zone. And that's very hard for somebody like me I'm very aggressive. There's a reason why Jennifer is single. I am very aggressive and very detail oriented.
It's not because you have the wrong call to action underneath your photo.
Probably not. But that's the thing is, like, if you think about it, and I've been an advocate of this up until, like, I have to process what you just said, okay, and then I'll have a conclusion. But it's buy now, start buying process. These definitely have created lower funnel opportunities. But the question is what if it wasn't so aggressive? Would we see more opportunities, more engagement? And I can imagine that you would. Yeah.
I always relate that to a chat session. So many chat services out there, especially if they're third party and you've got that service chatting on behalf of the dealership. And I've had many discussions with different chat providers that I've used throughout the years. They have some type of quick way of trying to obtain the customer's information, in case we get disconnected, what's your email address? What's your phone number? It's just I'm sure almost every customer that's ever chatted with a dealership now has probably figured that out. Whereas my approach from day one pretty much was, because I hated that trick, was to just have a chat with the customer the way you would with a friend. Answer their questions, provide some information, provide some data that maybe they didn't quite ask for, point them in the right direction. I never went after that customer's information until we were maybe towards the end of the chat session, or the opportunity presented itself in such a way that you'd be an idiot not to ask for it. And then whenever I would speak to because I've pretty much always outsourced our chats to another provider, and ask, this is the approach that we want to take. We do not want to go after the customer's information right away, and none of those stupid tricks. And I've always felt as if you did that, even if you didn't get the customer's information, and you just made it a great chat session, that there was a really good chance. Of course, I don't have anything to prove this other than, working at the dealerships, for most of my life, and being able to see a result come from it, because, someone comes in and says, yeah, I had such a great experience chatting with whomever, that, it just made sense to go ahead and come on in, see what you guys have to provide. But yeah, I mean, it almost seems like this is sort of the same approach, especially with digital retailing, altogether. It's making it easy. Don't always, it's Jennifer, I'm sure you can speak to this. I mean, how many of those dealerships that you work with that installed some type of digital retailing platform, as soon as the customer clicks on buy now, whatever call to action you were using, how many of those were set up where the customer could actually go through the whole process without giving up their information? Most of them are set up where as soon as you hit the buy now, well, in order to get your payments, or in order to get from step 1 to step 2, you've got to give your first name, last name, email, phone number, zip code, all that great information. And I've always, how many consumers back out of it just as quick, if not quicker, because you're asking for just too much information up front. As you were visiting dealerships, I mean, how many of the dealerships, and what's your take on that as well? How many dealerships did you work with that initially have it set up that way?
I think, April, for sure, it was the people that had a system already in place that they weren't probably using. They seem to have benefited very quickly by turning on all the features and, doing a complete, for the most part, very complete transaction online. At this point, I think you put it out there for people, and you're going to see a variety of changes month over month, year over year, based on your investment in the mentality, based on your investment in embracing this sort of a business model. The truth is customers aren't checking out. You know what I mean? That I don't even think that's what they want. And for me, if I'm looking in the crystal ball, I just don't see customers doing that. I think we need to have that model intact. You have to compete with Carvana, for example, with Tesla. You've got to be able to do what they can do because they've proven that people want that. Significant amount of people want that process. The best part about a dealership is they can offer it now, but they can also, provide an in-dealership experience. So I do think that these tools help build relationships. These tools, people use this word transparency, but I hate that word because what we were transparent before. But it's just for an ease of word, for this conversation, it proves you're just willing to put it all out there. It showcases your character. It builds up your brand identity, and it creates confidence from the consumer. So I think that the tools are necessary. You don't need to take somebody all the way to the end, although, again, I think you should have something like that intact for, the 1%. But I do think that this becomes a very significant showroom sales process tool. And so in the dealerships where this became more of a in-store process, I see the most relevancy and I see the most efficiency and benefit to the dealer.
That's what a lot of the digital.
So going back to that.
Oh, sorry, Jennifer.
Sorry.
I was going to say, no. You're right. So the showroom experience, so when you see the abandonment rate in a digital retailing tool decline, so it's actually getting used more, it's because the dealer is using it in the showroom. It's not because they're actually walking through it in the website. To a question that Jeff Miracle had earlier, I'll throw it back on the screen. He's asking, what are your thoughts on most digital retailing products being considered more than a glorified payment calculator? And, there's another way to think of it, and not necessarily as a glorified payment calculator, but more as an electronic paperwork, piece. So, what a lot of them lack is getting that customer to want to fill in the paperwork. So they don't engage them up front. They don't take care of that need the customer has to find out if this is the best payment and the best time to buy, that they usually have to ask a salesperson for. Instead, they just throw them into that paperwork process. So is it a glorified payment calculator? Sure, you can call it that. But think of it more as okay, this is where we do the paperwork. And if you think of it that way and think of it that way as how you would use it in the showroom too, then it makes a little more sense. And it also makes a lot more sense in that case to why people might not jump into that let's get married call to action on the website to get it all started. That's my take, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it used in a lot of showroom processes at Hello, and I really like this model. I really like this model a lot. I mean, it just fast forwards things. But at the same time, and I like that because, it's like a little aggressive. Like, let's do this thing. But it makes the customer feel like it's not the salesperson, it's the computer. Your payment is the payment. The computer says so. The computer's asking you how much you want down. The computer's asking you, do you want to input your trade information now? The computer's asking you, what do you want your payment to be? And you're just getting there faster.
Yeah. So, before we end this, we did promise Dan Sayer we would answer his question from many minutes ago. Let's see. Here it is. Did any of the stores implement any of the online experience into their showroom? Did the shopper get the slick DR online and then get hit with Foursquare and a closing manager who basically gave them a different number than what they saw online, probably?
To me, this is running rampant. This means they don't understand the mentality shift. They don't understand the business model shift. They simply bought the tool because they thought they needed to have the tool, and they simply didn't change the process for the customer. This is a scam. This is a scam, and it really recesses everything we're trying to do with overcome stereotypes. It's, you go back to what you know. This isn't a fresh up. This isn't a fresh up. This is just like the way we treat BDC opportunities. BDC gets the people to fall in love with them. Customer uses the DR tool. They fall in love with it. They think, ooh, this place is on point. This is where I want to be. They get it. And then, BDC sets an appointment. Customer comes in. They're like, I want to see Jen, that nice chick on the phone. And they're like, use this guy, Jeff Kirshner. And they're like, yo, where's Jen? And that's a problem in meeting expectations. It's just CSI. It's like a ton of stuff that gets impacted by that single moment. It is not a fresh opportunity when Jeff says, "Oh, hey Jen, yeah, hey customer, yeah, Jen's in BDC. What can I help you guys with?" And he's anxious to sell a car. You blew it. And sure, you guys got a good team. You're gonna make it happen, but that doesn't make it good. That doesn't make it go. You want to do this every single time? The customer is like slighted, You ding them enough times that you wonder why, they're not coming back to service their vehicle with you. And there's a lot of different things I think that, we have to be mindful of.
Yeah, if you think of them as internetters, that's going way back. That's about 20 years ago now.
Well, Jennifer, it does sound like throughout this whole process, it's encouraged you to maybe go back and revisit some of your training manuals or the way you approach certain things at dealerships when it comes down to implementing digital retailing. Would that be a fair assessment?
I feel that I've changed a lot. I've changed as a person, as somebody who's just a lot more sensitive to the guest experience and bridging gaps. Like the one I just shared, it's the same thing. When this customer is using your digital tools and they show up in the showroom and you don't access their saved file, you don't acknowledge them, have already had a journey on your website, it's not a fresh up. You missed out. So then each of these moments, and as Alex had, mentioned earlier, there's all these drop-off points with the tools. You have to acknowledge these drop-off points, and you have to be able to change your sales process so customers feel like you're with the program. You're picking right back up where you left off. You're making this seamless, and everything that they did so far isn't either misunderstood or disregarded. I have changed everything. I have changed everything. And I'm pumped. I wrote 30 classes in the last 3 months, 30 hour long classes. Cause now we're delivering all of our classes on Zoom calls. So, and I'm finding other ways to deliver these classes now. Cause it's what people need. There's just no experts in this. I'm still a student. But you just stay connected to these software systems and to the process. People don't, back to what they know. They have the same habits, and you just have to keep giving people arm them with the information to make this easier for customers. That's the name of the game.
Jennifer, how would someone be a part of these classes? And if someone wanted to reach out to you or maybe have you as a consultant, how would they get a hold of you?
Call me, send me a message on IG, LinkedIn me. No, my phone number is all out there. I'm in sales. My number's everywhere. But you can contact me. My cell, our 800 number. Go to our website, edealersolutions.com. We do Zoom training classes every week, and I still go and see dealers, not as frequently. And we're doing a lot of executive leadership class and even on digital retailing.
Perfect.
And I know you and one of our regular community members, Drew Ament, share a common client, and he was saying great things about you earlier in the show. So what you do with that group, I've also heard about it a bit, and definitely would recommend Jennifer Suzuki as a trainer for pretty much everything.
That's really nice. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me.
Well, we'll make sure all your contact information is over in the forums, so if anyone wants to reach out to you, it's easy to do so. But definitely appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
It's been great to hearing about the process and how it's had such an impact on you, with your training and even on a personal level. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's do this again with a better internet connection.
For sure.
Okay. That is my end, and I don't know what's up with that, but I am going to change locations next time.
No worries.
Nah, it's not. There's nobody's fault other than the ghosts and the wires.
Yep. All right, guys. I think we're out.
All right. Happy Halloween, everybody.
You got it. Take care.
See ya.
Mm-hmm.